This is a Wasting Time podcast, but this is actually a fake intro before the real intro. I just wanted to preface this part by saying I'm really sorry. I messed up my mic. So for the intro segment, as you're about to hear, we had the band Last Night Saved My Life feature as guest co-hosts for the intro segment, and I was over at my brother-in-law and sister-in-law's new place when we did the recording, and I thought I had a good setup, took a mic with me, but I must have recorded it through my AirPods for some reason, so that's why I sound a bit weird. Totally listenable still, but the guys sound much better quality than me. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Wasting Time podcast. I'm your host, Chris. Unfortunately, Nick's not able to be here again for another intro, but that is not a problem because I have some guest co-hosts once again to roll this intro segment with me. And I'm honored to say that I have three members of Last Night Saved My Life. Guys, would you like to go around and introduce yourselves?
Sure thing. Yeah, thanks for having us on. I'll start. I'm Wilson. I sing in the band. And I am currently having a lazy Saturday morning with my family here in Michigan. So happy to hop on here. This is going to be fun.
Love it. Thanks, Chris. I am Riley. I play rhythm guitar in the band. Also kind of having a lazy Saturday rainy-ish morning. And I'm about an hour and a half north of Wilson in Michigan.
Yeah, so I'm Justin. I play guitar. Thanks for having us on. I'm the oddball, so I'm not in Michigan. I'm out in New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
a little further
here.
away.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah, and I really appreciate you guys jumping on and doing this. And we will talk all things Last Night Saved My Life in a few minutes. But before that, in the interest of keeping this like one of our normal intros, I sent you guys like some new stuff that I was listening to, and I just thought we'll go around and talk about that a little bit. So I don't know, let's start with the new MxPx single. Because MxPx are, definitely mine, potentially my co-host Nick as well, like our all-time favorite band. So we have a vested interest in that. So curious to see what you guys thought of the song and how, where you are on the MxPx kind of fan scale.
Yeah, well, so I can say that like I put punk music and like pop punk and all that into different buckets. And
yes.
MxPx is definitely in more of a, I would say, punk. Obviously, they're not mostly like came up in the 90s, right? So a lot of different influences for them. And they have like a couple albums that I really love. And then a lot of stuff that I just never really listened to that much. Not because I didn't like it, but it just never really caught my ears or hit my little portable CD player that I had in the early 2000s. But I checked out this new song and it did two things for me. It made me say, okay, I want to write more songs that are easy, repeatable, like the 1101, 110, or whatever it is. Like, that you could just get people easily singing along to it. And then also it made me want to drink a Guinness or something. Like
That's exactly what I thought. But I want to be in a pub.
Yes.
See, and then I turned it on and I was like, it just rewinded the clock for me where honestly, I'm not a huge MxPx listener, but there was a period of time where I was like obsessed with a couple of their songs. And so
really?
then I pulled up I was like, wow, this is 2005, their Panic album.
Oh yeah, I love that
between
record.
like Wrecking Hotel Rooms and Gray Skies Turn Blue, those two songs I beat to death when they came out.
Yeah.
So like maybe I didn't follow the assignment, but I went back and just looped those two songs and be like, wow, these still hold up so well, and I miss these songs.
I was majorly in before Everything and After. Like I had the physical CD when I was like 12 years old or something. And so it's just a different time back then where you listen to every song on the album over and over and over because there wasn't just like Spotify to easily flip around a whole bunch. So I was way in on that one. And like Play It Loud is still a song for me that I could turn on anytime and be right back in it.
That record was like their real kind of like polished pop punk attempt, I feel. It was underrated in my opinion.
I think that's why it resonated with me the most, is because I tend to gravitate towards like more polished sound and that was probably the most for them. Yeah.
So do I. I feel like I'm the outlier because I never really listened to MxPx that much at all. And so this song was fun to listen to. I was also just thinking, as Wilson said at Guinness, I'm like, I want to be in a pub with all my buddies listening to that song.
Yeah.
Or in
Definitely
a
feels
punk
like a
rock
drinking
show.
anthem.
Right.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like that. But it was, I think, Justin, you might have given me my first pair of skinny jeans. Like, so I was late to some of this music, and like that was in high school when we started playing music together. So I feel like I missed the initial wave that these guys got.
Got it. Nice. Yeah, I definitely liked it. I'm obviously, as I said, I'm biased because, you know, they're like my favorite band. That's literally an MxPx tattoo right there.
Oh, yeah.
So, you
Nice.
know, I'm kind of like uber fanboy. But having said that, like, you know, a lot of the stuff they've done over the past few years, it is a bit hit and miss for me, but I was pleased that, yeah, this, like you say, it does feel like a fun drinking anthem almost. I noticed as well, I was looking at the credits, looked like it was co-written with Nick Woods, who I think is the singer from Direct Hit. I don't know if you guys ever came across that band, but you can kind of hear that in the sound as well, which I thought was a cool touch.
I was curious about what do you think the meaning of this song is, because the coding part, where it's like, you know, there's binary, there's 1 and 0, and that's clearly what they're going after, and it's he's saying like we would be like 1101 100. But I try to even look it up. Like, what do you think that means? Like, they wouldn't mesh?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I didn't really, I listened to it on the way to work and just enjoyed the catchiness. But yeah, I didn't really stop and give that attention it deserved. But you looked it up and couldn't really
No,
with that.
I found that string of binary code equals the number 108. I don't know if they're for some reason referencing that, but it seems to me like it's more saying we wouldn't go together, or like almost like we would go together and then we wouldn't, and then we would, like 1101 100. So it's like they do match and then they don't and then they do. I don't know if there's actually a meaning like that behind it, but if so, I find that pretty cool and interesting.
Yeah, picking up on that is interesting.
I tend to gravitate towards lyrics and like, what does this song mean? It's just like the first place I go when I listen to something.
Do you, I mean, not to get into your stuff, but you know, because that's coming in a little bit, but are you the main lyricist in your band?
I would say so. We do all write the lyrics and like contribute together, but I don't know, guys. You tell me. I think I probably do the most.
He's going to be humble. He's absolutely the main
lyricist.
We do collaborate and work together. Yeah.
Chris, I have to ask you this too, because the other thing that popped in my head was like a couple years back, my wife and I, this is completely random also, but sitting down, like we're looking to buy a house, we have HGTV on, and like the lead singer did like a home reno show. Like if have you seen that? I assume if you're a huge MxPx guy.
Yeah. I think it's not a show that airs over here, but I do remember that happening because it was because his wife's from Texas and they were buying a place because he's based in the Pacific Northwest and they were buying a place in Texas. I remember. And
he made some like sick studio out in his backyard. And I was like, wow, this is like the coolest like home reno show I've seen. It was just random. I was not expecting to see MxPx show up. No, that's random tangent, but that was like another MxPx memory I have.
Okay, let's move on to the other single that I sent that came out last week. Who, I mean, half of this collaboration are good friends with MxPx, and MxPx I know were a big influence on this band, but it was the Avril Lavigne Simple Plan collaboration. Very, very John Feldman, who obviously produced it. What did you guys make of that one?
JB, I know you've been ripping this song.
See, I was jamming it before you sent that email over, and I was like, okay, sweet. I have I can talk about this. I mean, I just had it on repeat, so I mean, like that riff off the top and just like the pre-choruses for me really sucked me in.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
the production on the drums too.
Yeah, and I'll say like maybe we'll get into this, but like we've worked with Derek from State Champs a lot.
I was definitely going to bring that up.
They have that song with Simple Plan, and to me, they both kind of have that same anthemic, like just feel good vibe. So it brought me back to that song too. So nice. I had that song on loop.
I thought the same thing, JB, about that with the Simple Plan and State Champs collab. But yeah, this Avril Simple Plan song is super catchy, It's like straight classic Avril. I love how she does like the background things where she's like, okay. It's just like, it totally brings you back to early 2000s. I thought that Pierre's feature, like initially, I was like, that doesn't sound like him. And something, I don't know if it's like a different effect on his voice, but it sounds so good. Maybe it's just that it's really high in his range and like maybe a little bit higher than he's typically going. But I thought he smashed it too and was like the perfect feature in that song.
The 1975 just, I think, recently released like a live album, and during one of the songs, Matty Healy's talking about this kid in the crowd who's like putting a period on his every sentence. He's like, I must be a sassy writer and lyricist. And I was thinking about that as like Avril singing the first verse and the stuff she's saying about wearing her black tie on the tour bus and like, and just the energy with it. And then when he comes in the second verse, he's like, 20 years later, we're back again. I'm like, dang, man, it's been a while. It's really cool.
I'll say too, I'm like, I feel like Avril did the super pop punk thing for a minute, and then she went like super mainstream and maybe lost some people or like her old school fans, and now she's fully back to like, all right, I'm doing what I did when I started. It got me down the rabbit hole of like listening to her last album, which like had MGK features and like Black Bear and all these things, and I was like,
and that was Feldman as well.
Yeah, maybe it's the Feldman production too, but that I'm gravitated to. But it's just I've liked her stuff that she's released in what is it now? Maybe past 2 to 3 years.
Nice, yeah. Like I mean, it's an undeniably fun song. I've definitely enjoyed it and have listened to it a few times since it came out. Like, just over a week ago. My only criticism is like, obviously you mentioned like referencing back in the day and stuff, and he says 20 years later we're still. I just feel like we've had so many songs like about nostalgia like the past few years. It's like it didn't need to be about that again. There's been enough of this recently.
I couldn't resist.
We get it. This music's been around for 25 years.
I totally feel that. If we're gonna go down like some slight criticisms, this isn't even really a criticism. It's just something that I was listening for and wanted to hear. When it gets to that second half of the chorus and it's like da 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 da, I wanted that guitar to like start breaking it up a little bit to keep some more energy there, like a dun 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 dun. With
that
like
would be
maybe
cool.
More of a hip hoppy vibe on the drums, like a boom 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 boom. Like think about Good Charlotte kind of vibe.
Yeah.
I felt like that could have added a different energy, but they kind of just keep it straight. Which is a choice.
That's a good shout.
Yeah.
Oh, and my other small criticism was like I felt like particularly when Pierre comes in the second verse or whatever, the melody, I was like, oh, it really reminds me of something else, and I think it was that Nothing Nowhere Hammer song. Like it was just very, and I was just like, oh, it feels a bit too close for that,
Love that song. I didn't catch that, but I'm gonna listen for it.
Yeah, I think it's that. I could be wrong, but it was definitely something else, and I think it's the Nothing Nowhere, or maybe more so the Point North cover of the Nothing Nowhere song. But I was like, either way, I've heard that melody before. But
I'll let you know if I hear that after I listen to
it. Drop me an email, let me know. But yeah, I think we all agree. Cool. Outside of that, it's a fun song. It's a good song. And the other thing that I mentioned prior to this was this new Wonder Years release, which is kind of like a stripped back version. I mean, they've done this before, obviously, but of songs throughout the years. Firstly, where do you guys stand on the Wonder Years? Are you all fans or not so much? What's the deal?
I'd say our bass player is probably the biggest Wonder Years fan in the band, and then maybe I'm second there. I don't know about you, JB.
Yeah, I went through the Wonder Years phase pretty hard at one point. Yeah, and I'll say we worked with Casey from the Wonder Years for a couple of years there, so that was a cool experience for us. Yeah.
What was he managing you or something for a bit?
It's more like coaching. Like he basically coached us through the release of our sophomore album. We'd get on and schedule like just periodic calls to go through our content and release strategy. He actually pushed us in what I thought was a good direction of doing more singles and releasing it as a split EP and then combining it into an album just to get like more extended release. So yeah, it was just kind of like a mentor.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we've had Kate a while back, but Casey's been on this show before.
Oh, he's a great guy. And
Yeah, he's a great guy.
As far as this release goes, I thought they did some really cool things. Like my favorite stuff that really stuck out to me were the strings. Like the way that just brought a different feel, especially in what is it, Oldest Daughter? Is that
okay?
Yeah, and Oldest Daughter. Yeah, they crush
Yeah.
in that song. And then I also really loved the vocoder in Doors I Painted Shut. I just thought it was
favorite.
like, yeah, a really different vibe for them. It almost felt like John Bellion or something inspired. We've gone that route as well in our new album, and I didn't expect it from them, and I thought it was just like a cool, unique approach that they took.
Nice.
Yeah, my two favorite Wonder Years albums too are Greatest Generation, No Closer to Heaven. So,
okay,
a couple of those songs, of course, stood out to me. But yeah, the vocoder, I heard that, I'm like, whoa. I wasn't expecting that. It was a little melodramatic. That was cool. And, with the lyrics of that song being pretty introspective and emotional. Yeah, so there were a few that stood out to me.
I typically, and I do really like the Wonder Years songs. I think they have a really authentic approach to songwriting and even to like the production. They don't do a ton of pitch correction. It's pretty raw in parts. And that's obviously a choice, and I think it's really cool. But like I said, I tend to gravitate towards more like polished, kind of like sparkly, poppy, catchy is what I typically go for, which isn't a ton of what the Wonder Years does, but it's undeniable, like their uniqueness and their talent.
What about you, Justin? How are you feeling about this release overall?
It was actually, the timing was funny too, because I followed them on Instagram and I was getting some stories of them. I guess they're touring it right now with like the full strings. And for me, it was like, wow, this would be sick to see. And then one of the videos was like, they weren't even singing, but this packed room was just like screaming all the lyrics back. So I just know the people who love Wonder Years, it's like, that's such a hardcore fan base.
Yeah,
so,
they're all in. No, I thought this was cool as well. I haven't revisited it too many times. Like, it's something I will listen to from time to time. I'm like a casual Wonder Years fan.
Yeah.
Some albums I like more than others. These kind of releases, I can take them or leave them, but there were a couple, maybe it was Oldest Daughter as well that did it for me, that I just thought sounded really impressive in this version.
I'm curious, before we get into our stuff, for you, Chris, like you said, MxPx is one of your big bands. Are there any other like 2 or 3 bands that you're like, these are my go-tos?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess like my huge ones are MxPx, Blink,
Nice.
Good Charlotte, Social Distortion, I have huge love for. And then my other one that's maybe a bit more obscure than those, but vaguely in the same way as Quiet Drive. I don't know if you guys ever listened to them back in the day, but they're like my big 5. So
interesting.
That's me.
Nice. So you kind of gravitate towards the like more classic punk, like throwback that been around for a little bit.
It depends how you look at it, because would you describe like Blink and Good Charlotte in that sense? I don't know because
there's a lot.
So, yeah, I mean, I do like, even though I have huge love for like Social Distortion, I'm a bit like you. I do find myself drawn to the more polished thing. So like within MxPx's music, I love Before Everything and After, and within Blink's music, like Enema of the State's my go-to record. I mean, I love the rawer stuff as well, but I think I'm a bit like you. I kind of gravitate towards the slightly more polished stuff,
Yeah, for sure.
And I was gonna say, we probably need a whole nother session to talk Blink and to pick apart like, all right, what period of time is it? The new albums? Is it the Matt times? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and I'm sure we all have lots of opinions on that. So I think let's do a full length on that in like a few months or something, and we can get into that stuff. But I'll tell you what. We'll talk all things your band now, but to lead us into that, why don't, if you're able to, the 3 of you just give me like your 3 top artists or contenders for your top 3 artists?
I think it's impossible for me to do like of all time. So could I do my top 3 artists currently?
Yeah.
Because if we're talking all time, Blink is definitely in there. But in the current state, like I'm not listening to them a ton. So right now, what I'd say is probably I've been listening to a ton of Knox.
Oh yeah. I've been
Yep.
loving that last record. Yeah.
So good. I've also been listening to I always am jamming State Champs. They're always going to be one of my favorite bands. But I've been listening to a lot of different stuff lately. Like I'm still stuck on this release that came out last year called Copium by an artist called Boy in Space. If you haven't checked that out, it's so good. Production is amazing. The melodies are so catchy. It's more like pop, like straight pop, I would say. And I've been kind of more in that vibe lately, the poppier side of punk.
What about you, Riley?
Oh man, I'm gonna go current as well because it's too. I change with the wind sometimes, So I mentioned the 1975. I get hooked on their live albums just because of how good they are as performers.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start there. A little different for me. I listen to Bears Den. They're out of London. I don't know if you've heard of them, Chris.
I know the name. I've never
They're
listened
like
to them.
more of a folk indie band.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say Boy in Space as well, but I'll go Band Camino.
Oh wow!
Because I've been listening to, because of Wilson, Boy in Space often. That same release.
Good one.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I guess I'll go 2 current and 1 classic. Like the classic is Angels and Airwaves.
Oh, okay.
That's how like Riley and I became friends 20 years ago.
Truly.
Really?
Honestly, that was when I was trying to figure out music, and I heard Angels and Airwaves really before Blink, so I was like a weird one.
Yeah.
So Angels is always there. The 2 current ones, Maggie Rogers, if I go like the past 5 years, what I've listened to, Maggie Rogers is up there.
Okay.
And then the other one I'd say is The Wildlife, which like they've been a support on Knox, Ban Camino, so maybe kind of all in that same world.
Good call.
Guys, do you want to just give me a real quick summary of the history of the band, like how long you guys have been together and what's taken you to this stage?
Yeah, I would say let's just take it back real quick to the beginning, and back like 2010, like 2000, I would say 2010 to 2013 was our like initial stage of being little, local, which we still are, but like just we had no idea what we were doing. We were playing like high school shows. We were trying to play some of our own songs, but we didn't know if we were a screamo band. We had no idea how to write a song. We were just going up there and playing these terrible songs that we have deleted from the internet.
For the most part.
Put them back up.
No way. I think of that as a different band than us. Like I don't even consider that whole time frame to be Last Night Saved My Life. But it was a blast. It was I think that whole period was us just learning how to write songs and failing miserably. But I think you got to go through that period to get better. We started in high school. We went to neighboring high schools. Justin and Riley went together, and I was at a nearby high school. They found me on MySpace. They were doing the talent show at their high school and needed somebody to sing for Fall Out Boy. Sugar, we're going down. And they found my music on my MySpace and asked me if I would do it. And that's kind of how we started.
Nice. When did it kind of jump into, getting on the road a little bit? Like when did the first kind of tours kind of surface?
So we have done minimal touring.
Oh, really? Okay.
We've mostly played like regionally, Midwest United States, like Chicago, Grand Rapids, Detroit. Last year we did, or was it last year or the year before? I can't remember. We did Chicago, Detroit, Columbus, Pittsburgh, but like all just Midwest.
Okay.
We haven't never done a full national tour.
So you never made it out to California or the West Coast then?
Not yet, man. We're looking to.
End of the year, hopefully we'll line up some things. But I guess we started to take it more seriously after we all finished school and got jobs, and we're like, wow, this kind of sucks. And we started working on our first album, Cherry. And like I've always been in Jersey since I moved, or since after school, and like I was flying home every couple weeks, and we were just going down in Wilson's basement and writing songs. And then that's when the Derek thing first started for us, and we got in there with Seth Henderson and Derek, and like really got serious about like that first album.
Yeah, how did Derek and you mentioned Seth Henderson as well, the producer, how did they kind of discover your band? How did you link them up?
So I went full Creech mode on Derek on Instagram, and I DM'd him, and I was like, "Hey," because I saw he had worked with Seth and another band that he was producing for with Seth, and I was like, "I wonder if he would do that for us," because we had already booked time with Seth. We had just reached out to him, and he was like, "Yeah, come on, let's get some time on the calendar." And so we were already scheduled to go out there. And I was like, let's just take a shot at this and see if Derek would come out and co-produce. And he was like immediately down. I'll just embarrass myself a little bit and say, I went to, I was trying to lock that in because he said, yeah, I'm interested, but he was like not fully committed. So I went to Warped Tour, and I actually saw him sing with Simple Plan. I think he was like guest featuring on I'm Just a Kid or something. And it's just 2018. And he leaves the stage, and I watch him go across the lawn, and I literally chased him down at Warped Tour on the grounds. And I was like, hey, I'm the guy who DM'd you about co-producing my band. Like, is this really happening? And he was like, oh, okay, yeah. And I think that solidified it right there.
Oh,
that was
good
in
work.
Ohio,
Nice hustle there.
But yeah, he's been awesome to us over the years. So, and it's been like he's really worked on everything since then that we've put out. So.
Yeah, like looking at your credits, I could see that. That's really cool. I mean, we've had state champs on a couple of times, and we because we did Four Chord Festival with them last year, and they've been on a couple of times since. So, our experience of them as people, they just seem like awesome guys. So,
yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And it's not just us. I know Derek does a lot for a lot of smaller up and coming bands.
Yeah.
So
But I think we've got to be one of the biggest anomalies in the sense that we've been a band for so long, but we've really been mostly a digital band. And like,
I'm getting that sense. Yeah.
It's such an interesting thing where, and it's not for lack of trying to be honest. Like we've wanted to get on good tours for years, and we've kind of just said no to doing it the DIY route where you just go, we've done it, but we haven't done it much, where you go out and you play shows to areas where nobody really knows you. You're not a big enough band to draw a crowd in any city. And a lot of bands do that, and I give them a lot of respect, but it's tough to go out there, lose money, do the long drives, play for 15 people in a couple states away, and then go do that again and again and again. So we've kind of just chosen, honestly, let's not do that, and let's spend our time writing songs and like recording and putting out the best music we can.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of makes sense, particularly in this day and age. And I guess, obviously, Justin, you mentioned at the top that you got a fairly newborn baby, and, I don't know if the rest of you have families and stuff, but, you can't really be, as you say, be going on the road to lose money, to play to 10 people or whatever. You've got to be... You got to be smart about it at this point in life, I guess,
100%. And we do have some exciting things coming up that we can't say yet, but we'll do probably the biggest thing we've done coming up, hopefully at the end of the year.
Speaking of things you've done recently, obviously you've got the new record that came out. About 2 weeks ago? Just over 2 weeks ago, the first Hello came out.
Yeah.
And was this with Derek and Seth again? No. There was who else did you work with?
This was with Kyle Black.
Kyle Black, that was it.
So we were going out to LA a couple times to record this one, which was a new experience.
Yeah, how was that?
Us. Oh, it was cool. And Kyle is like, we've had great relationships with where we've recorded, Seth and Kyle. So that was for us to travel to LA, have that new, I guess you'd call it, bigger experience in some sense. It was just a really cool thing, and I feel like we got 9 songs that we really, really like, and maybe something cool coming in the future again. So I'll let the guys add on to that.
Yeah, I mean, we I think with going to Kyle, and we had great experiences everywhere we've gone, but with going to Kyle, we knew we wanted to get something different, a little bit like of a new sound for us in some ways, and I think there is some extra sparkle Like we went for, I think, more like vocal upfront, synths that we haven't used before as like lead lines. So I think he just helped us bring out a little bit different side of ourselves.
What's all of your favorite songs on the new record?
All right, I'll start. I think I'm ready. I have two that I go back to more frequently than the others right now, and it's Blue Moon and Sweater, which actually we recorded Sweater with Seth, and we held on to that song for quite a long time. And then Kyle kind of remixed it and made it a part of the collection. So those two right now, but like I said, I changed with the wind. So
I'll say Bet Her Heart is probably the one that that I enjoy the most, because like I said earlier, I go for lyrics, and I think the thing that I've loved about some of the more recent like pop stuff is just like, and even like pop country, is trying to find like clever ways to say things that are a little play on words. And so I thought with Bet Her Heart, where it's like, if she's gonna bet her heart and find a better heart than his. I was proud of that line. That song hasn't been one of the most streamed off this album so far, but for whatever reason, it's the one that I'm the most proud of, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, and then for me, I think Blue Moon, which is one of the earlier singles we released, and then Lung Tide, which is definitely a different vibe compared to the rest, but I feel like that's the more ballad. It like builds throughout the song, and we've tried that formula a handful of times, and to me, this is the one that we nailed the most, and I come back to a lot. So that's another one that's up there for me.
Probably Blue Moon for me. That song is instant earworm. Yeah. It's had regular rotation for me.
Blue Moon was the first single off this, and it's actually, it was like an early release single from this, because it came out actually almost a year ago now.
Yeah.
And I feel like it took a minute to catch on and hit the algorithm. And I think part of that is we signed to Adventure Cat Records near the end of last year, and so to just have them behind us, and then we kind of like, we didn't re-release it, but now we transferred it over to them, and I think they've definitely helped give it a little push,
give it a little boost. Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned Adventure Cat there. I think was that started by Matt, who manages Stand Atlantic? I think he started that label, but
he's the general manager. Yeah.
And then, so is it Colin from Grayscale's looking after you guys then?
Yeah, he's been
That's
awesome.
really cool.
I'm going to see him today.
Yeah, we've been blessed working with some of these guys.
Oh, tell him Chris from Wasting Time says hey.
Oh, I will do. Yeah, I'm going to the Mayday Parade show that Grayscale is on that tour tonight. Yeah, so amazing. I'll see him there. Yeah.
Wow, that's a great lineup as well. I love both those bands.
Same.
That's cool. So yeah, you guys clearly, you've made a lot of good friends in the industry who've like kind of obviously taken to your band and really kind of been part of the team with you, I guess. Which that's awesome when it's bands that you're a fan of to begin with. Yeah.
It's kind of a wild thing, especially because like I feel like typically that would happen where you get to know people in other bands from like playing shows together and playing like festivals or whatever, and that's just not been how it's happened.
That's right.
Going back to like, I don't want to call us a digital band because that sounds so freaking lame, and we're not. But that's how we've met all these people as well. So we've been lucky in a lot of ways.
Let's finish this up by if there's obviously you mentioned there's something cool coming that you can't announce just yet. Is there anything in terms of what's coming up this year that you can kind of tease us with, or do you need to hold back on that for the minute?
I'll say this. I don't know. I think we could say this. We are not quite done with new music, and I don't know if it will be this year or early next. But it's the first hello is not done. So I'll leave it at that, unless you guys want to add anything else.
I think that's
I'll leave it there. Yeah.
And then hopefully at the end of the year we'll get out to some new places and meet some new people. So
we definitely will.
Nice. On that note, we'll leave it there for now, guys. Really appreciate you doing this.
Absolutely. Thanks for
having
us.
Huge thank you to Last Night Saved My Life for stepping in and doing that intro with me. We want to say we love your band. We're so glad you did that, and we're looking forward to doing more stuff in the future. Now we have our interview with Stefan, who is of SBÄM Records. We didn't know if it was SBÄM or SBÄM Records. We asked him about that. He clarifies that. Doing big things in Europe. They have lots of bands we love on their roster, and Stefan's a big part of the kind of European punk rock community. So let's get into our chat with him. You say you're in your car. Where exactly are you? Where are you talking to us from?
I'm in Austria. I'm just driving to a meeting. I'm in, I don't know if you're familiar with Upper Austria. It's like Linz near to Salzburg on the German border.
I mean, my only experience of Austria is I went to Vienna for a weekend once, but that's kind of it. I'm ashamed to say. I don't know about you, Nick, if you've been before.
I've skied when I was like a child with school, but so long ago I can't even remember what part of Austria it was. But yeah.
Yeah, Austria isn't that big, so.
Fair enough. I guess the one thing I'm curious about, like running the label and stuff, but just let's just start this off. Like, do you want to tell us what like a typical working day is like in the world of? No, actually, before I go into that question, the first immediate thing we want to ask you, because we were talking to someone on your roster the other week, and we were like, because we've been familiar with your label for a long time, but to be honest, I've never known whether, do I call it SBÄM Records or is it SBÄM Records? If you could clear that up for us, that would be great.
That would help. Yeah.
It's SBÄM Records. Yeah.
Okay.
Like the meat thing,
but with a B.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Where did that name come from? Like, what was the brainchild of that name? Was it SBÄM?
It's no, it had nothing to do with the meat. It was just I did some artworks. I started doing some artworks, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago. And then I did some kind of a short name for that. And I just took my initials from the name and slapped it together. This was the outcome. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, cool. And yeah, so my question I was asking before, like, what is a typical day like in 2025 for you running the label?
Yeah, it's everything is a little bit combined with artworks in the festival as well. So I get up pretty early in the morning. The first thing I do is checking my emails and responding to all the important stuff. Then we're gonna check my schedule and stuff like that. That's the first 2-3 hours, and then we gonna meet in the office, talk about schedules, plans, press stuff. I'm doing artworks, doing mock-ups, doing everything that needs to be done for the printing process. And yeah, but that's mostly of the day, and also part-times of that we're gonna work for the festival and booking club shows and doing artwork. So it's almost every day we work on all these things. Otherwise, sometimes we have some other working schedules when we have a show or a festival or something like that, or some pre-order weeks. But that's mostly it. And in the afternoon, I'm gonna start to contacting bands about possible collaborations, and yeah, that's what I do mostly at the evening. So like I said, I'm gonna get up pretty early, and I think the last email I'm gonna send is at around 1 a.m. So yeah.
Okay.
I guess like it would be good just to maybe kind of go back to the start. I guess really in terms of your history and kind of what led you to, I guess, start SBÄM. I guess was it the record label that came first?
No, it was the artworks. I worked for different advertising agencies in Austria and Germany, and some corporate design stuff. When I was out one night, I get home and saw this posting from Joey Cape that he was searching for a poster or a shirt artwork for his Australia tour, for his tour. And this was some kind of a competition, and then I thought, hey, this is kind of cool because I like all his bands and what he's doing. So I did some sketch and sent it to him, and he took it, and I kind of loved that feeling to do something for your favorite artists. And then I did some more stuff just for him without any. He hasn't asked for that. I just did some designs for me first and Lagwagon and Bad Astronaut and sent it to him as well. And
Yeah.
he took them as well. And this was kind of the starting point. And then he invited me to my first show in Amsterdam. And then this was how I started all this artwork stuff. And then the first art shows came, and then I did some club shows in my hometown. And a year after that, or 2 years after that, I did the first festival, kind of small one for 300 people. And
Who was on that first one?
on the first one, it was Snuff,
Yep. Okay.
Teenage Bottle Rockets,
Oh wow,
Nice.
nice.
Ignite,
Yeah.
Leftover Crack.
Yeah, decent. Not a bad first lineup. all.
Yeah, totally. I think Nothington.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Nothington. Nice.
Wow, who else? I think these were the major acts. Yeah, I think we had six bands per day or something like that, or seven.
And I guess does your like, as you kind of segued through your your artist and graphic design work, but like what's your kind of further back history with music and your interest in music? Is it something that you've been into punk rock and that world for a long time? And what were the first kind of early influences for you kind of growing up?
I was always into metal, and then I think with 12 or 13 I discovered punk rock.
Okay.
And yeah, I was just a fan. We went to a lot of shows, me and my friends, but I don't play an instrument or something like that, or I was just a fan. And then this opportunity came up to do artworks for bands, and this was kind of my chance to set a foot into the scene and
Yeah.
build something. Yeah, that's probably it. And the label came way later. It was never planned to do a label. It was, I think, that the second festival we did, the second SBÄM Fest, we did a double LP sampler for animal care, Austria. And but this was without a label. We just did this for the animals. And after that, some bands asked me if we want to release their album, and I never thought about this, and I never had a plan to do a label because I didn't have any clue what to do. And then Consumed asked me if I want to join, be part of their EP release, and I said yes. Again, I didn't know what to do, and we started this and built an online shop and sold it just from our store, our online store. We didn't have any distribution, any partners, nothing. This kind of stood the same the next 2 or 3 years because we had to build something. I had to learn everything. I had to find partners and look how other labels gonna do that. And so the label was never a big priority at the beginning. It was always the artwork and the festival. And when the pandemic hit us, well, a time before that, we already had a couple of releases. We already, I don't know, 30, 40 releases. Which is pretty much, but we haven't done big PR campaigns or something like that. We just started this and just waited how far it goes. But when the pandemic hit us, we haven't had anything to do. I couldn't do any artworks. We couldn't do festivals. We couldn't do club shows.
Yeah.
So we kind of focused on the label. And then this was the time where everything switched. The label became priority number one. And yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds to me, I mean, what was like the Austrian scene kind of back before kind of you were really playing? It sounds like you've been playing quite a big role in building a bit of the scene actually in Austria. Kind of, was there much going on before you started putting on shows and things like that, or did you just see that as an opportunity and a gap within Austria?
Yeah, like I said, Austria is not that big. The biggest scene is probably in Vienna, but
Yeah.
before I did shows, there were also plenty of shows. Not in my region. They kind of stopped, now in the 90s. Doing
Yeah.
there, yeah, it's complicated because I mostly did like this US punk thing, like the Fat Wreck thing.
Yeah.
There are tons of shows with German punk shows and like some cross punk and I don't know, different genres of punk rock. But my thing was probably the Fat Record scene. And nothing did that at that time. It was just Vienna, the big ones like, I don't know, NoFX and I don't know, somebody won in all these shows. But yeah, I think it was, I don't know if I helped to build scene again in
Yeah.
my region, but probably I did because we book a lot of shows here and we built a festival and it's like a common ground for all these people from the scene, and we also try to book a lot of bands that are not regularly coming to Europe. So that's a thing I want to do, to don't have the same lineup that like every other festival. Like
Yeah.
I'm trying to get some fly-ins and exclusive shows. Yeah, but it's it's difficult to do shows because it wasn't that big anymore before the pandemic, but after the pandemic I really hope that people are going back to shows again.
Yeah.
But that never really happened. There are tons of sold out shows, like the big ones, like I already mentioned, Somebody One, Dropkick Murphys. These are all easy sells. But
Yeah.
if you look at great bands like, I don't know, Teenage Bottle Rocket, I don't think it's so easy to sell out a big room. Or also for Snuff and all these bands. All these bands are great and they deserve to play in bigger halls, but I don't know, it's just, I don't know, I don't know if the scene is getting older and the young kids are not listening to this kind of punk rock genre anymore. I don't know, it's yeah, but it's doing well. As the shows are, the festival is getting better this year. Ticket sales are pretty good, so yeah, I'm
Yeah.
optimistic.
You've got a strong line. You've got a strong lineup this year. You got like Millencolin, me first as well. So you've got a few things going on there.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's also not that easy anymore because all these bands are getting older and
True.
you can't
Yeah.
book the same headliner every year.
Yeah.
I did see Useless Idea on your roster. I would be very happy to see you get those boys back on stage at some point.
Yeah,
They're planning to do anything.
yeah. I have to talk to Yotam. I think he already mentioned it someday, but yeah, that's totally possible for probably next year or something like that. We always try to get other bands on the lineup, and there are so many bands we haven't that haven't played our festival so far. So yeah.
Who's on your hit list? Who haven't played it so far that you would really like to play?
Oh, but there are tons of bands. It's not about the bigger bands. It's also about, I would love to have a Veil or
Oh
Dylan
yeah.
Moore. There's who else? Banner Pilot,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Face to Face. I always try to get Mighty Mighty Bosstones, but they're not playing anymore. Um, yeah, there are a couple of bands I trying every year to get Consumed back together, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, how did you first did you just know them through like them coming through Austria and stuff? Because like Yeah, Consumed. I haven't seen them play for years. I remember in the early 2000s, we used to see them so much playing in the UK scene. They've been around for a long time now.
No, I think they were on. They haven't played around that time. Did um we did a club show. We did a New Year's Eve party.
Oh yeah.
I asked them to fly over and play it. So this was the beginning of our relationship, where I think I booked them 3 times,
Hmm.
1 or 2 times at the festival or 2 club shows. I can't remember, but this was kind of the starting point. And then we did some reissues for the label, and like I said, it was became bigger in the pandemic.
Who on like your roster at the moment are like newer bands are you kind of really excited about and expect kind of big things from?
We just sent a band from the UK. It's called Slacker.
Oh yeah, yeah, like with two R's at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about them because they playing tons of shows. They're
Yeah.
Hard
they're always on the road. Uh, and we're gonna release their album this year,
Hmm.
and I'm pretty excited about that. We gonna work on some other stuff. We're gonna work on some new music for Leftover Crack. This is not a new band, but
No.
we have tons of projects right now with some well-established bands like Bucko 9, Bracket, Guns and Wankers, Leftover Crack, Mad Caddies. We're gonna work together
Nice.
with Dave Ferris, and yeah, we have tons of releases coming up this year.
In terms of the festival, like, I mean, obviously it's great that your festival continues to be successful, but do you actually enjoy the process of running it? Because we know people who do that, and they love it as well. But I can see what a stressful task it can be at times.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass most of the time.
Yeah.
Um, we we did the festival in 4 different locations right now. When we started, it
Right.
was in a kind of small venue. Then the second one was in Wales, where we did I think 4 or 5 editions there. And then we kind of moved to my hometown, and tried something different, also something at the lake, something bigger with camping. But
Yeah.
this is causes so much stress, and we the whole team was unhappy because it's not that fun anymore, because it was all kind of familiar. Everybody did their work and had their fun, but it was all too big, and you had to kind of deal with some mainstream stuff and with different partners and sponsors. So we thought about going back to our old place and do it open air and also indoors. And last year was the first time we did it again, my old venue, and it was great. It's so much easier. We know everyone there, and it's yeah, it's much more relaxing, and
Yeah.
that's so we can enjoy it. We
Nice.
don't have to build
Yeah.
1 week ahead
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah.
it's just that it's tons of work there, but we don't have to start 1 or 2 weeks before. We just have to start 3 days before the festival to build everything. That's much.
Yeah. Yeah. And remind us when the festival is this year.
It's at the end of May. It's May 30 and May 31.
Is that the weekend after Slam Dunk in the UK?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the
Yeah, it will be.
I'm
Yeah.
done,
So do you get some of the bands off the Slam Dunk lineup kind of passing through? If you managed to take advantage
No,
of
not
that?
really. We already booked the lineup months before, or weeks before.
Slam Dunk announced.
Yeah, I think we have some similarities, like say Ferris,
Yeah,
and
Ataris as well, I think.
Ataris, uh, but I think that's it, because we have Me First, Gimme Gimmes, Millencolin, Zebrahead,
Oh,
and
Zebrahead as well. Yeah.
yeah, and some German punk bands, and Leftover Crack, and Punk Rock Factory, and
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty big over here at the moment.
yeah, totally. And yeah, I think this the lineup is pretty cool for everyone because we have this crust punk, we have this much more skate or pop punk thing. Then we have Me First, that is a band that everybody knows their songs. So
Yep.
that's pretty good, yeah.
And I guess if you were doing like a mega festival and like money was no issue, like who would be your headliner? Just like personally, kind of, who's like a big act that you would book for a huge version of SBÄM Festival?
I would probably book Blink 182, not because I'm a fan. I'm not the biggest Blink 182 fan. I like their old
Right.
records.
Yeah.
But I would love to have them on the lineup because it's just a nostalgia thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I like
Sell
all
a
this.
lot of tickets as well, I'd imagine.
Yeah, totally. Or My Chemical Romance because the Black Parade is a great album. But I would love to have tons of bands like the Distillers or
Yeah.
Weezer, Social Distortion, and all these bands. Yeah.
Did you catch Social Distortion when they came through Austria a couple of years ago?
I think I saw them at a festival, not at a club show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're big fans of theirs.
Yeah, but I've just heard they canceled the Europe run.
They did.
Yeah, I've seen
They
that.
did.
Yeah, because they haven't finished their album yet as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems, yeah. It's a bold move to cancel the whole tour, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I suppose if it's promo and the whole record, then
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully they'll catch up on that one. I guess what does life look like? Obviously, you do. It sounds like SBÄM is keeps you very busy. Festival, label, you know. Do you still get time to do the graphic work for SBÄM? Are you still pretty hands on with that stuff?
Yeah, it's SBÄM is my 24/7 job, and it's also my hobby. I kind of stopped
Nice.
doing artworks the last 2 years, and
Yeah.
since 4 or 5 months, I'm again at it, and I'm doing all the artworks again, also for bands, because I kind of missed that thing.
Yeah.
Doing artworks, and so I started to do some designs for the caddies and Snuff and Pennywise, Lagwagon, and so on. Yeah, and I'm also doing all these artworks for the festival and all the merch things. So yeah, I kind of miss that a lot.
Nice. And I guess when you do have time away from SBÄM, like what does that look like? What kind of takes you away from it? What do you get up to outside of that world?
The sad thing is there's no
There's no
outside.
downtime.
No, it's always when we hang out and meet some friends, it's just an hour to talk about different stuff, and then it gets back to bands and business stuff, but it still makes fun. So, and it's cool to make your hobby to a job. And
Yeah, definitely. Not many people can say that.
yeah, sometimes it would be good to just don't see anything for a month, or don't think about all these business things for a month. But it's if you're self-employed, or if you're running some things, that's not easy. You can't just switch off, and yeah.
Do you visit the UK much? And are you ever part of the UK like punk scene? Do you find yourself in London much at all?
Not really. I would love to, but it's like I said, it's always pretty hectic, and we have tons of appointments, and
Yeah.
we had a lot of plans to visit London a couple of times, but we had to postpone it every time because we had another appointments that were where we had to go to Germany or stuff like that, or we went to the US a couple of times. But
Mhm.
it's totally on the list to be more in the UK. Also because we want to partner up with more, doing more there, like with Lockjaw.
Okay.
And yeah.
Are there any other festivals, perhaps rival festivals that stand out to you that you kind of look up to, that you're fond of? Any other kind of punk rock festivals anywhere in the world that
that you're particularly fond of?
Yeah, totally. I think Punk Rock Holiday is a great festival.
Oh yeah, Slovenia, right?
Yeah, especially because they have the perfect landscape for it, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's their selling point, and that's great for them, and because this totally stands out from the other festivals because it's easily to have a festival somewhere at the field, but they all look kind of the same.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty cool one. I personally like the smaller festivals a lot because I like the intimate atmosphere of seeing bands. I don't like the big festivals. Um, also for the shows, I love the small, tiny, sweaty club shows. But Slam Dunk is always great. The lineup is always totally great. It's a great festival, and I think I've been there twice.
Oh, nice.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, there are tons of festival. It's the Bane's Warped Tour is back, but I don't really like the lineup.
Yeah, no, there's no one standing out to you on that. I mean, it's a pretty stacked lineup in their defense, I would say.
No, it's don't get me wrong, it's great, and but there are not as many bands that I like.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough.
It's like some kind of a 90s revival of Bane's Warped Tour thing.
Yeah, okay, like a bit more of a throwback to, just having bands like Lagwagon and Pennywise and stuff.
The When We Were Young guys doing, so they have all these bands that are played in the 90s or something like that. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing, isn't it, at the moment?
These big festivals, they're gonna explode, but you need some big partners or sponsors behind that because all these bands that are playing, they're really, really expensive.
Yeah. We've heard about fees that get asked for sometimes. I know it can be very high.
Yeah.
I guess what does like the future of SBÄM look like for you? Obviously, you got the festival this year, but like, is there a plan to grow even more? Or is this kind of are you at a level that you like to keep it? Is it manageable now? Kind of what does the future look like for you guys?
For the festival wise, we're gonna keep it in that dimension. It's around 4,000 people. That's pretty fine. And for the festival, for the label, we want to grow. Yeah, that's definitely that's a huge plan. But we want to grow slowly, not like overnight or something like that, because we don't want to do it like with the festival that from 2,000 people to 6 to 10,000 people and going back, we want to stay there then. So that's the plan, and we want to do. We moved into a new office where we have a venue in the basement, so that's pretty cool. So we can do.
That's very cool.
It's not our venue, but
yeah,
we can use it anytime we want. So that's pretty cool. We're gonna have Lagwagon, all these bands there already this year. So that's pretty cool, and yeah, it's still a plan to do a festival outside of Austria. That's still our main focus. I don't know where. I have to do one in the US as well, but yeah, it's not that easy. Maybe some other stuff. Lately we thought about doing a cruise, but like not on the ocean, just on the Danube with a couple of
Oh,
bands.
nice. Yeah, that could be a good thing to aim for, like rival booze cruise or something like that.
Yeah, totally.
We can probably we've taken a fair bit of your time, so we can probably wrap this up in a second, Stefan. But I guess we just, if it's cool with you, just finish off with like a couple of more general questions.
Of course.
What's your favorite European city?
My favorite European city. Oh, damn. That's a tough one. Does UK count for Europe?
Yeah, it does. We're not just talking EU countries.
I think I really like London.
Good choice. It's hard to top, to be fair.
I guess kind of what would you If you had to choose like three all-time favorite bands, who are you putting in that top three list?
I have so many bands that I'm listening to.
It's a tough question. Or if that's too much of a problem, like top three all-time favorite records.
I can say the bands that I love. SBÄM.
Oh yeah.
I love this band.
A lot of love for that band.
Lagwagon.
Yep, that makes sense. It's about the 15th time you've mentioned them on this call, so yeah, you definitely like Joey Cape and the boys. Yeah.
I don't know. That's really, really tough one. Guttermouth. Or
Guttermouth. Really?
Goldfinger. I would say Goldfinger.
Oh, nice. You've had Goldfinger play your fest before, right?
Last year.
Nice. How was that?
It was amazing, really. It was great. It was just 1.5 hour party.
Yeah. Their live show is like unrivaled, I think.
And
yeah.
I've been a huge fan of Goldfinger since the Tony Hawk game.
Oh yeah, of course, Superman.
But the first time I saw them live was 2023.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So not too long ago.
Quite recently.
No, I was totally we've been in the US around that time, and band from Zebrahead asked us if we want to come to the show because they were supporting Goldfinger and Anna.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And so we drove to the show, and it was awesome, really. It was.
Yeah, I think John Feldman, despite his age, like always brings the energy. Like that man has got like an insane amount of energy. Like, and his shows. Yeah, his performances show that, I guess.
Amazing, and also all these that were there, like Tony Hawk, and that was crazy. Standing beside Tony Hawk and watching Goldfinger. It was.
Yeah, that's a cool moment for you.
Oh yeah, crazy.
Nice. All right, Stefan. Yeah, I reckon we could probably let you go at this point. Really appreciate you giving us some time. And yeah, of course, we love what you do with the label, and and long may it continue to grow as well.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you. Have a good day.